You're watching E.T.N, where we don't do news, we just talk entertainment. Share and subscribe.
Hey guys, welcome to Entertainment Talk Nation. This is Rob. This video, we're going to talk some Godzilla, and I know it's been a while since I've done a dedicated Godzilla video. And well, there hasn't been too much in the way of news for Godzilla vs. Kong. And I've also been working on something that I used to do back in 2014, 2015 that I'm very excited to be bringing back, which are Godzilla videos that are dedicated strictly to speculation and theory. And I'm working on a couple of videos in that area, so you can expect to see those in the coming days. However, this one, we're going to talk about Godzilla vs. Kong and whether or not we'll see Ghidorah in the next movie. But before we get into that, make sure you hit the subscribe button if you're new here. If not, make sure you hit that notification bell so you know when new content is up. Please definitely share the video. It helps the channel a great deal, as well as liking it. And if you haven't already, don't forget to check me out on all the social media platforms above me, as you can follow me there on Facebook, Instagram, as well as Twitter. You know, when I get this question, the most common answer I give is no. No, I don't think we're going to get Ghidorah in the Godzilla vs. Kong movie, simply because the timeline just would allow it to happen. Godzilla vs. Kong is going to follow the same timeline that we got in Godzilla King of the Monsters. So in essence, this is going to be happening a year later, as a lot of the monsters, as it's been noted through the end paper clippings, are going to be converging on Skull Island. And I think that doesn't just allocate enough time for Alan Jonah if he's part of Apex, because we got to remember Apex is a big deal in this next movie. I just don't think that allows enough time for them to really study and find anything out about the Ghidorah head that would allow them to manufacture something that could be a threat to Godzilla and Kong. Now, another thing what I take into consideration is, you know, during the interview with Collider, Mike Doherty had said that we may not have seen the last of Ghidorah, and that there's certain effects that him being a space monster could have on the ecosystem. And he mentioned something along the lines of, you know, what about the flies that were buzzing around the Ghidorah head and picking at it? Is that going to have an effect on them? So on and so forth. So it's just a lot of open-ended questions that remain in the MonsterVerse. And these are questions that, whether or not we get an answer to them will be, you know, it's determined by the fact as to whether or not the MonsterVerse continues. You know what I mean? I don't think they would give definitive answers if they weren't 100% sure that they were going to go beyond Godzilla vs. Kong. So now that is primarily the reason why I don't think we're going to get a Ghidorah in the third movie. Now, with that said, that doesn't mean that I don't think we will get another monster that's going to step in and try and shake things up. You know, I tend to agree with the masses for those who theorize that Godzilla and Kong at some point will team up. I think it's going to be a reluctant team up, but we'll have to team up to fight something bigger. The question is, what is it exactly? Now, again, that doesn't mean we are getting a third monster that's going to be included in the end of the movie, forcing them to team up. It could very well just be a one-on-one. But I think the idea of them teaming up, I don't think that's too far-fetched, as I've said before. I do think we're still going to get a definitive winner. I mean, that was mentioned to us by the director. He said there will be a definitive winner. The way I kind of see it playing out is, obviously I'm on Team Godzilla, so in my eyes, Godzilla wins, and I think that it's a grueling battle, and after Godzilla is the victor, he doesn't kill Kong, he goes to walk off back into the ocean to go and rest, and as he's heading back towards the ocean, this big monster pops up, something that Kong recognizes as a threat, and rather than attack, this monster attacks Godzilla, and then Kong comes in for the save, and that's when they reluctantly team up to fight this monster. I do think it would be pretty cool. I think that outside of the idea of Godzilla and Kong fighting, I think another appealing idea is Godzilla and Kong teaming up. So why not put it in one movie? You know, I know a lot of people don't like that idea, but I'm open for it. I'm open for it. So the question is, what monster will we get? Well, that's the tough part. If it happens, and that's a big if, I think it has to be a monster that we somewhat recognize, you know, not that we've necessarily seen before, but when you consider all the lore that's been established in the MonsterVerse from the graphic novels as well as the movies, something would have to arise that people who've been following the MonsterVerse will recognize. Even if it's a monster we haven't seen before, maybe it's a monster that was mentioned in passing throughout the novels as well as the movies. For example, we talk about the Skullcrawlers. This is a monster that I theorized that if Godzilla and Kong were forced to team up, they would team up against a sort of Skullcrawler prime, similar to like the Muto having a prime. Maybe the Skullcrawlers have one. We know that in Godzilla King of the Monsters, when Ghidorah made his alpha call, Kong was one of the few monsters, or probably the only monster, not to answer that call. And he was fighting Skullcrawlers that were attempting to escape the island to answer that call. Maybe throughout that, maybe something woke up. We know that there's something going on under Skull Island. There's been mention in the ending of Godzilla King of the Monsters that something's being built under there. Now, a lot of people like to go crazy and think that it's Mechagodzilla. And who knows, maybe it is. Maybe by some miracle it is Mechagodzilla. But I think that if there's something being tampered with or built under Skull Island, it's going to be a monster that is a combination of organic and mechanical. So like a biomechanical monster that Monarch has been able to develop, or maybe Apex, but probably Monarch because they're the ones mentioned being the one building it. So maybe they develop a monster that we've seen hints of that maybe we haven't really noticed. So I think, it depends how much of the Easter eggs at the end of Godzilla King of the Monsters they decide to answer, because we know that not all of them are going to be answered. I tend to lean that if it's going to be on Skull Island, if it's going to be another monster that forces them to team up, my money is going to be on a Skullcrawler. It makes the most sense in terms of what's going on underneath. I do think the Hollow Earth is something we really need to keep an eye on. It was mentioned several times heavily in Godzilla King of the Monsters, and it was used or explained as a way for some of these titans to maneuver, how they get from one place to the other so fast, because there are vortexes within the Hollow Earth that allow you to travel to certain points of the planet at, I guess, top speed, kind of like some sort of warp. It's not a warp, of course, but, that's the best way I can describe it in terms of the speed to travel. We know that it originated on Kong Skull Island, so this could be a monster that utilizes the Hollow Earth to travel. We know that in Godzilla Aftershock, the Muto Prime seemed to get around pretty quickly, and it seemed like he was using the Hollow Earth. So, there's so many possibilities that it could be any kind of monster and it could be just a completely new monster that they kind of try to explain towards the end of the movie. But I do think it would have to be something recognizable. It would have to be something that they touched upon before that would trigger our memory the moment we see it and the moment they talk about it. So, but in essence, as far as King Ghidorah, I don't think we've seen the last of him. It really, really only matters whether or not the MonsterVerse continues. Then there's a possibility to see him again. But otherwise, I don't think he would be in Godzilla vs. Kong. I think it's too soon. I don't see them making a lot of headway. Pun intended? I don't see them making a lot of headway with the severed head of Ghidorah in less than a year to make something that is significant enough to be a threat. But who knows? It is crazy fringe science, fictional science, so there could be something. Or it could be that maybe it does regenerate into Ghidorah's body, but I doubt it, because when we saw the head at the end of the movie, it was decomposing. So anyway, that's it for this video. What do you think? What do you think? Do you think we have a chance of seeing Ghidorah making a return in Godzilla vs. Kong? Do you think there'll even be a monster for Godzilla and Kong to team up against? Or do you think it's just going to be a one-on-one? Let me know in the comments below. But anyway, that's it for this one. This is Rob signing off for E.T.N, where we don't do news, we just talk entertainment. Take it easy.